Talk with Tyson Brian.
Welcome to Nonstop Rock Talk. I am your host, Tyson Brian. On today's show, I'm very happy to welcome singer, songwriter, guitarist Kenneth Brian. Kenneth, welcome. How's it going?
Going good, man. Thanks for having me on, dude.
You're very welcome. It's great to have you. You've got a brand new single out entitled Falling Again, which coincides with your new album, Keys to the Kingdom, which was released on February 25th on Southern Shift Records.
That's right.
We're going to get to the single, but before we talk about the single, tell me about the title of the album. Is there a meaning behind Keys to the Kingdom?
Well, man, I was living out in California for the last 6 years. And, you know, I'm from Gainesville, Florida, and we got some heavy hitters from here. I mean, there's 9 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame members from here, all the Tom Petty guys, Bo Diddley, Bernie Ledden, and Don Felder from the Eagles, like all kinds of heavy hitter. And those are just the famous guys. I mean, everybody here could play. But when I moved out to L.A., I started to be around Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and hang out with those guys, and I got to work with them. They did the pre-production. Mike Campbell and Steve Ferroni did the pre-production to this record. And it was just sort of I felt like being around all these heavy hitter cats and everything, man. I just sort of, I finally had the keys to the kingdom in my hand. That's one of the, one of the ways I look at that. And it just, just being kind of handed the thing from all those guys and going with it. And that's just spiritual meaning too, with everything that's going on right now in the world. And, I wrote this stuff before the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And, but I think it's relevant. Definitely. It's a lot of the songs. I was listening to the songs because, when you write them and play them and stuff, you don't listen to them too much, but I listened to the whole thing before it came out last week. And it was like, wow, there's some lines in there that were, definitely about, some stuff that's going on now, man. So, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that was in my mind one day when I was working with those guys, and I wrote it down, and I thought, well, that's a good title. So I used it.
Awesome. Now, it's interesting. You mentioned Gainesville, Florida, but these songs were actually written in Hollywood and Malibu, which is where you lived for 5 years. Would you say that the vibe of the album comes from living at that time in Southern California?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always going to have the, Southern rock, swampy kind of thing going on. I mean, coming from down here and working with Johnny Sandlin from the Allman Brothers and all these guys, and just coming up that way, doing the whole, Chitlin circuit and that whole thing. But being out there definitely added a whole another dimension to the thing. I mean, being around a lot of, being around those guys and shaping the sound and being around a lot of different bands and just in a different environment, it's like, are you from Toronto or around that area?
Yes, I'm from the area. Yes.
You go somewhere else, you're still Canadian. You're always going to be Canadian. But you could, like you say, go down to whatever, Cuba, like we were just talking about. You'd be there for a few years, man. You might pick up some stuff, and it makes its way in there, And so it was sort of like that. I mean, I lived in Hollywood Hills, and the last house falling down up there. My neighbors were like Lil Wayne and Eva Longoria and all these people. And we're in this house that's like barely on stilts, just hanging on, from this old hippie guy. Lived there. Then I lived in West Hollywood, right behind the Whiskey, that club of Whiskey a Go-Go.
Yeah, wow.
Whiskey's here, parking lot. And I lived on a rooftop apartment right there. And like Jim Morrison and Leonard Cohen had lived in this apartment before, and Guns N' Roses lived right there. And, the Sunset Strip was on Clark Street. And so being around that, I mean, and different players and then I moved out to Malibu. I got this little guest house out there, and it wasn't a bunch of money to rent this place, man. We just found this magical place. And then one of those wildfires came through and took out our place about a year later. And I lost I got my guitars and my amps out, but I lost everything else that I had. And, that definitely affected my California experience.
Oh man.
So that was interesting. So some of these songs come from, the good times, the weird times. I didn't really have any bad times out there, but it was definitely, it all worked its way into this record, man, for sure. And then being out in the desert, recording out there with my band out at Rancho de la Luna, Dave Ketching from the Eagles of Death Metal, and of Queens of Stone Age, his studio. There's a different vibe out there even. I mean, because you're in the Mojave. It's just real spacey. It's real, it's got its own thing. So that crept in there too, really.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about these amps and guitars that you were, man, that's cool.
Well, you want, like, the main one that I play is a 52 Les Paul that this guy had, and he was a jazz player in Nashville when I lived in Nashville. And I guess he passed away in 1959. Somebody broke the neck off it. And back then what they did was they just sent him back to Gibson. They didn't fix the neck. They put a whole new neck on it.
Oh, wow.
And he said, why don't you just sunburst it? Because, they were all gold to begin with.
Yeah.
And he said, go ahead and sunburst. So I have this. I bought it at Groom Guitars. I didn't pay. It was like when the economy was tanked back in like 2010 and I walked in there and this guitar was on the wall. I played it a few times and they had it marked way down and I made it even, I made an offer on it. And, anyway, I end up with this guitar that's a 52 Les Paul that was refinished in 59 that has a Tune-O-Matic on it and humbuckers and everything else. And it's got, 1961 PAFs and then it's just like the sound of God. I mean, it's just, I have all these other Les Pauls and stuff, but that guitar through an old Tweed Pro amp, 1949 Tweed Pro, wow, that I got in Memphis years ago at a gas station. It looks like it's been dragged out of the damn swamp by alligators, dude. Like, for some reason, that combo, it sounds like a half volume Marshall, but with more, low end to it, more growl, at low volume and stuff. And I got onto that combo, man, and I've been using that pretty much ever since. I have a bunch of different Les Pauls. I play James Trussart guitars as well, steel top and steel DeVille. But I mean, that whole album that I just did, I think it changed amps once. I mean, I used that Les Paul into that Tweed Pro for every song except for one. I have an old Birdland short scale arch top, which is, man, I'm just blessed from God to have all these guitars, man. They were total gifts from God. I never could afford any of these guitars at the time.
That's amazing.
But I plugged that into a deluxe reverb, and I think on another song I plugged a Les Paul custom into my old Marshall. I got 69 Marshall. And, 69 Marshall, 50 watt, small box bass head, like Dwayne Allman played, like when I worked with Johnny Sandlin, he was in a band called Hourglass with Dwayne and Greg, and he produced their biggest hits, Ramblin' Man and all that stuff. And he really is more responsible for shaping my sound and how I record and just my general attitude, really. It was kind of like a father to me. He passed away a few years ago. But, he kind of honed the sound in and, we worked on getting it to where it sounded like me. And I don't know, man, the old stuff is just built right. And Gibson's making great stuff now. Again, James Trussard's making great stuff. Again, I mean, he's never made bad stuff. But as far as just plugging a guitar into an amp and just boosting it with something and not having a bunch of crap in the way, there's something about that, man. I mean, there's something to the other approach too. Like having all kinds of delays and everything. But I've always had so much on stage to do with being the band leader and playing the leads and trying to keep everything in order up there and entertain people that I can't step on a bunch of stuff. It's not possible for me, man.
Yeah.
So I literally have a boost that makes it louder and maybe a reverb unit that I have an old reverb unit that I run through, and that's about it. All I can handle live.
That's cool.
I mean, it makes it easy on the road too,
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. So, it's more or less you can plug in and play.
Absolutely, man.
It's just awesome.
Get off a plane and take some stuff out and, pretty much you got it. So,
yeah.
But that guitar, man, that 52 Les Paul, I call it Red Cloud, and it's got, it's just I don't know, man. I don't know exactly how I ended up with that thing, to tell you the truth, because, and now I could never, God, now they're ridiculously expensive. I mean,
yeah,
ridiculously expensive. I mean, $30,000 to $100,000 or something. And it's that's a house to me. I don't know, probably where you're at too. I mean, and so.
Well, housing's expensive here now, but.
Is it?
Crazy. Oh yeah, it's insane. It's insane how much a house is here now.
Like that in California, and I used to live in Austin, in Nashville, and both of those places have just gone ballistic with people moving there. I don't know how regular people, and I come from regular people, I don't know how they make it, man. But
I agree.
Down in, North Florida, where I'm from, Alabama, that whole area, you can still afford to live. So I'm back for a minute living.
That's good. I actually you mentioned Gibson making guitars now. I bought a Les Paul Gold Top.
Yeah. Nice.
A year and a half ago. Now I had a 97 Les Paul Standard, a black one. It got stolen.
Yeah.
So I replaced it with that Gold Top. But I like that Gold Top better than I liked that other one, that 97 guitar. It's a huge difference. I don't know what they've done.
Well, man, our friend Mark Agnesi, he was from Norman's Rare Guitars. It's a guitar shop out in LA. Yep. Norman Harris, one of the greatest people in the world. I don't care what anybody says about him. He's amazing. Amazing dude. And he had Mark working there for years. And Mark got the job. He's like at Gibson, he's like their A&R or PR guy or something. And I don't know, he knows a lot about guitars from working at Norman's, and he knows, hey, we should put a bone nut on this, or hey, we should put these kind of pots in like the old ones. And so I think he's worked with them a lot to get things back to where, the pots work like they did back in the 50s, and the pickups sound good, and they're not like too potted, and they're not, the materials are right, because, you can have a really amazing old vintage guitar and have a couple, some zinc saddles on there from the 70s or something, and it won't sound good.
Yeah.
So I think probably the difference between 97 and last year is probably, a big difference, man, in the wood and the 97s, I had a first Les Paul I ever had was I think a 98 or something like that. But I didn't get it in 98. I was still playing a terrible Strat copy back then when I was young, but they really going in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I plugged it in, and just the feel of it is different, and it's just I find it easier to play. Like even it's bizarre. It's unreal.
It's the way they're setting them up and everything. And I play really heavy strings. I play like 13 through 56. Wow. And I played 56, 46, 34, 18, 16, 13. And so
that's heavy.
Mine are set up like with the truss rod flat, pretty flat, and I don't need any bow in it, and then pretty low, and I can play slide on that. But it seems like the stuff they're doing now is already kind of set up to like take, to be easier, like you're saying, easier to play. And I've been looking at those 335s that they've been putting out, man. They look really cool. And the J45s they came out with when we were out on tour with Lucinda Williams. She always played J45s. I was always kind of a Martin acoustic kind of guy. I got to really play in hers, and they're just awesome. Man, Martin's gone in the right direction too. I mean, they're back to what they were doing in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and I mean, they're making some killer guitars too, man. But there's a lot of, James Troussart, French guy that lives in LA. He makes some really amazing instruments. And another, like when we were out on tour with Lucinda, we met James and became friends with James. I started hanging out with him, and my girlfriend's a musician and photographer, like a real photographer. Not like everybody's got a camera, but she's a real music photographer. Yeah, she was working for him, and he just we were going to Europe, and I couldn't take a 52 Les Paul. You don't know if they're going to take your guitar or not.
Yeah.
All this wood stuff and endangered species. So he said, I'll make you some, I will make you some guitars, So he made a couple, guitars for us to take, and I've been playing them ever since. And I really like those, man. He has this one. It's a steel DeVille, and it's like cagey, swampy looking metal. Like it's like green, like it just came out of the swamp. And it only has one little piece of mahogany behind the bridge, and everything else is hollow. And it's like a Les Paul style guitar with two humbuckers, and it just sounds awesome, man. It sounds awesome for slide, and it's kind of unbelievable that there's no, it's almost like a dobro body, like caged metal.
That's cool.
And he does some really cool stuff. He lived in Louisiana for a long time. He moved from France over to Louisiana because in Lafayette. It's like if you're gonna be French and live in America, you want to live in Lafayette. And so he started down there, and I think he really got influenced by the swamp and things, alligator skin and all the Cajun stuff, and me being from North Florida, I was like, oh man, alligator skin metal. Okay, that's cool.
That is cool.
But he's got a really wide bunch of, everything from Americana people to heavy metal guys to, all kinds of people. Bob Dylan, all these people play his guitars, and those are something to check out too, man. They're really great.
I will. That's awesome. Now, you mentioned playing heavier strings. Does that give you? I've never played slide with heavy strings. Does that tone must be huge? That
it is a weird. It's weird for me. It's really comfortable. I grew up playing. I started playing when I was 11 years old, and I didn't, have much money. And I got my grandparents were from West Virginia. We went up there one time, and I got this guitar, like a Dixon pawn shop, $37. The action was about that high. Yeah. Strat copy thing that I played forever, and I was used to it not playing so easy. And so when I got like when I started to like really, go out and play and everything, I had a Telecaster, and it felt too easy to me, man. So I used like, heavy strings, and I got used to that. And then it kind of became a thing. And I think with not having much in between the guitar and the amp, it definitely makes a bigger, punchier, bolder kind of sound, more mid-range maybe. But then for me, it works out really well. But then there's guys, like when I lived in Nashville, guys like Brett Mason and Johnny Highland, all these like amazing country players, they'd use like 9s or 8s or whatever. And they would pick up my guitar when I was playing at like the Bluegrass Inn, and they'd be like, what do you have on here? And I'd pick up theirs, and I feel like I had a tremolo on there. Yeah. But we got to do all these shows with ZZ Top and Billy. It's like a dream come true. Billy's like showing me all his guitars and stuff, and he has really light strings.
He uses like 8s or something, right?
Yeah, 7s or 8s or something.
Yeah.
And he got onto that from B.B. King, I guess, and because he said back in the day he thought, all blues guys played heavy strings, so he had heavy strings. And somebody, I don't know who it was, picked up his guitar. One of the guys maybe on the Stormy Monday sessions or something for Bobby Blue Bland. And they said, what do you got on here? And he said, oh, I got some blues strings on there. The dude goes, why are you working so hard?
Yeah.
And so, but for me, it's weird, man. I'm just so used to it that it feels weird. I was having some problems playing live all the time, so I tried to go down to 12s, and it felt weird.
Really, eh? That's wild.
I can do 12s. Yeah. I can do 12 through 54. But when I get into like 11s and stuff, I just feel like I'm not. It just feels weird to me.
I mean, that's wild to me, because you said the A string is a 46. And I use 10s, so the 46 is the E string, right? E string,
yeah. When I lived in Nashville, man, I remember I had a 60 on my E on a Telecaster, which has a longer scale, than a Les Paul. And one night I was playing, and I did a big bend, and I cracked the nut. The nut was bone, and I thought, well, maybe I need to go down a little bit. So yeah, I think it can get a little crazy, but it's not anything. It's not anything that it's like if it doesn't work for you. Like my nephew's playing a lot now, and I think he was trying to do what I was doing, and I'm like, hey man, if you can't play 12s or 13s, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
use whatever feels good for you. I just grew up playing beater guitars, and it just sort of happened that way, man. So
is it hard to get those strings?
No, man, I play Ernie Balls. I have an endorsement with Ernie Ball, and so they have they send me the 13 set with a couple extra, with the unwound 18 for the G.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much, I just go from there. But when I was playing the stainless steel ones, they would have to send me a set of 10s and then a bigger, the bigger E string. They'd have to send me a 56.
That's wild.
But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, man. Try it on a guitar sometime, and just see. It helps with slide. It helps playing, because I play slide in standard.
Yeah, and I do too.
Yeah, good for you, man. There's like me, you, Warren Haynes, and like nobody else. I don't know. Yeah, there's like barely anybody that plays slide in standard and up. But man, doing that, it kind of helps because you have a little bit more meat to.
That's why I was asking, because I was curious about that, because I'm always kind of annoyed with the slide sound because I'm like, okay, I want to set up my amp properly to get that proper slide sound, but I want it. You listen to some stuff and you go, man, that slide just sounds so good. You know, it's got this really sweet sound to it.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's just, it's kind of like getting you get to that point of breakup on the amp, and then you just sort of back it down a little bit. And then if you're playing, I think the big strings, heavier strings definitely help with that. They help, like push more sound. I like to use one speaker. Like I have those Tweed Pros with a 15 in them, or I play a deluxe reverb with a 12. I have Johnny Sandlin's old Bassman that Dwayne Allman played through, which is insane to even think about.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when they were in Hourglass, and then it was stolen for a while, and now it got returned. He bought it from some guy that was playing with Jerry Lee Lewis. Or no, he got it and then he loaned it to some guy that was playing with Jerry Lee Lewis back in the 60s, playing bass in Alabama, and it got stolen and then it got returned. But anyway, that's got 4 10s in it, and I only run 2 10s in that thing because I'm just, it gets just too loud and spread out for me or something like that. Focused kind of, it's easier to get that sound of the breaking up sweet spot thing sometimes through like 1 or 2 speakers, man. If you got like a bunch of, unless you're up there, you're Zach Wild or something, it's hard to break up high wattage speakers if you have a bunch of them. And sometimes it's running something through one speaker and just turning it up's the way to do it.
That kind of makes sense. I remember what the slide sound was. That country guy Drake White on his album. It was one of the songs on there, and I said my buddy works at one of the music companies here, and I said to him, I was like, "Tell me how to get this sound because this is just like amazing." It was just this great slide sound.
Yeah. Man, it's just like I was just reading an interview last night. I barely read interviews or anything. I was looking up Dwayne Allman's. He played at 335 every once in a while. I just wanted to know a little bit about it. I was going to text some of those people I know that are, family or involved just to, see what the guitar was. But I ended up finding this Greg Allman interview where he was talking about his brother. And he was just saying, a lot of it was kind of like, I think, Greg was maybe a little, feeling a little too good on the interview, but he was talking about the guitars and he was just saying, my brother played this and he played that. And he played the Strat with the telly neck, and then he got on to Les Pauls, and then when he found the Les Paul Marshall thing, that was pretty much it. The only thing he did was like change out from 100 to a 50 watt or change speakers or whatever.
Yeah.
But he found his thing, and then he didn't mess with it. And I think that, it's like Neil Young. He's been playing the same thing since he got that amp from whoever it was, that Tweed Deluxe and that old, 53 telly, and I've been conscious to kind of, if you can get that sound, okay, well let's not mess with it.
Don't mess with it. Yeah.
I'm going to Alabama to do a session, or I'm doing one down here in Gainesville, or I'm going out to LA. I'm not going to like change it up, man. I'm going to know that if I play this kind of amp at like 4.5, like Fenders, man, I don't know. 4.5 is like 5, maybe 5.5 is the sweet spot. Any louder than that, it just gets weird. It gets sputtery, it gets strange. And if you boost it with anything, it gets really strange, especially Tweed amps. Tweed amps like 3 to 5. I don't know how Neil does that, man, cranking it all the way up. I know he's got like the crazy whizzer thing and all that stuff to control it. But I think like once you find that sweet spot, it's all about just like keeping that thing. And, I don't know, man, it's just a lot of that. I think when Dwayne got a hold of that, like then it kind of frees you up, man, because there's so many choices now. There's 50,000 overdrive pedals and there's 500 amp companies. And so it's crazy. Like, if I know I can take a Les Paul style guitar and plug it into a Tweed or a Blackface style amp and boost it and just keep it within that, then that frees me up. I don't have to think about anything. But a lot of that stuff in the studio too, when you hear something, you're like, like on those, old Allman Brothers records, and you're like, wow, man, that's crazy, man. It's just an amazing sound. And Johnny'd be like, well, yeah, what's running through a Neve, and then we took it to, they didn't like the master. So Johnny took it up to New York City and had the record plant master it. And it's like, a lot of that has to do with what they ran it through afterwards too, to make everything sound that beautiful, warm, And so a lot of those Nashville records are the same way. That guy might be playing a Line 6 modeling amp, but by the time he gets in the studio and it goes through all that, nice outboard gear they have at Blackbird, it's gonna sound good. Great, hush up.
I love it. The dog in the back. That's great. That's
There's
good,
there's a pit bull that runs around. I live out, like, I'm from outside of Gainesville out here,
Yeah.
like in between Lutchway and High Springs. And there's a pit bull that runs around, and he looks like a killer, but he's just a sweetheart, you know. And he loves my mom, man. And so
That's awesome.
he follows her around all day long, and he keeps people off of the property because he looks like a killer. So
That's cool. That's cool. I can hear him. That's good. I don't think I've had a dog on an interview before.
oh
so
man, that's
good.
not good. Now you're just heading in the right direction now.
No, we're doing good. That's awesome. Now, we mentioned California. Was the album actually recorded in California as well?
Yeah, we started getting the album together at Steve Ferrone's house, and the drummer from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and Eric Clapton, and Amelia, Average White Band, all these, you know, him and Mike Campbell, right after Tom died, like 2 months after Tom died. God, it was terrible for everybody. And
Yeah, no doubt.
they were, you know, just one hero, and one of the greatest guys that ever lived. And anyway, I think they needed something to do, and I needed to do a record, and we got together at Steve's, and we started putting these songs together. And it was like a dream come true for me. Steve had been playing with me for a while, but I'd only met Mike a few times, and he's one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived, and one of the greatest guys I've ever met. And so, you know, getting these first 4 or 5 songs together with them was awesome. And he got a gig with Fleetwood Mac, and he was going to produce the record. He couldn't do it. So he went off to do that. And I went out to, you know, a few months later, went out to Rancho de la Luna and Joshua Tree out in the desert. And that's a studio that's been there since the early 90s. There's some, you know, Southern expat guys, Dave Ketching, and actually a guy from Nova Scotia, man, Hutch, who worked sound for the Queens of Stone Age. It's their studio, and they run it. We go out there and hang out a lot, and I became friends with them. And I thought, man, you know, I've never recorded out here. I've always wanted to. And so we cut the tracks out there. Me, Chris Cano, Brandon Owens, we went out there and, you know, did this crazy studio out in Joshua Tree where there's just baby doll heads everywhere. And like, there's like somebody got a thrift store painting of a baby, and Dave has a big, long white beard. And so somebody did an exact oil painting copy of the baby, only with this gigantic beard.
That's cool, man.
It's hanging on the wall. Like, you'll be like, you know, why isn't the toilet working? And I was going to fix the toilet valve, and I take the back off, and there's like a baby doll head in there on a string, you know. It's that kind of place, you know. So,
Yeah.
And it was just a really cool vibe, man. And those guys are just great.
So objectively, was the mindset different on this one compared to, say, Welcome to Alabama or With Lions, or do you generally have the same approach when it comes to working on music?
Yeah, I mean, I do myself. I mean, I just like to go in and try to, you know, capture lightning in a bottle, like, you know, do 2 or 3 takes, maybe 4 takes at the most, and try to capture everything that we can, as, you know, in a way that sounds like the band live, and then go back in and if I need to redo the vocals or something like that, which I usually, you know, I'll do that later on. But I think the approach is pretty much the same. But then again, I learned that approach from producers I've worked with, you know, Johnny Sandlin in Alabama that I worked with for 8 years, and David Bianco that produced With Lions. I mean, those are some of the best guys I've ever worked with. And so I learned to do that from them, really. I mean, I had players that had, you know, come from different places than I do musically and physically. So, man, it was kind of like, you know, adding everybody's, you know, chi together and just, you know, seeing what we come up with when, you know, so that was different about it. You know, it wasn't just a bunch of dudes from down south going in and doing, you know, coming from the same place. It was, you know, a really cool, a couple guys from California that had grown up playing rock and roll and soul and hip hop and stuff, you know. And so that definitely kind of took it in a different direction.
That's cool. Now getting to Falling Again, which I mentioned at the beginning of the interview as I guess it'd be the first single.
Yeah.
Love the vibe of the track. It's a great song. Kind of tell me, I was listening to it and I'm listening to the chorus, and kind of tell me about that song from a lyrical standpoint.
Well, I started writing that, I think, in the idea of it when I moved from North Alabama out to Hollywood. I just had been going through a bunch of stuff with girl and different business stuff in the music business, just kind of changing from one period to another in life in a lot of different ways. And I had a couple of the lines, and I didn't really think about it. And then I had that riff at the beginning in my head came to me when I was out in California, and I put that down on my phone. It's so easy just to grab your phone.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. You used to have to there's like a Mitch Hedberg joke, where he said, man, he's like, comedy's hard. Sometimes I'll be laying there in bed at night and I think of a joke, and my notebook's all the way on the other side of the room, and I have to convince myself that the joke wasn't that funny.
That's good. That's good.
So, yeah, man. So now we got no excuse. You can just grab your phone, and so I did that, and it just I was riding somewhere one day, and just all kind of came together, and I just put it together right there, and it wasn't anything I had to think about, man. It was just straight up moving, kind of rocking song, and just about moving from one thing in life to another, and not letting that take you out,
Yeah.
And everybody has to deal with that. I don't care whether you're, me or a farmer, or my sister works in a hospital in Houston. She's a pharmacist. I mean, anybody, whatever, you're dealing with that a lot in life, so can't let the, BS drag you down.
So true. So moving forward, have you decided on a next single?
Yeah, the next one that's going to come out is the second track on the record, man, called Hard Heart. And sort of more slow, bluesy soul number. And that one I wrote down here in North Florida, actually on the Gulf Coast. I was out, took my mom to this place called, I think it might have been her birthday or something, to this place called the Cypress Inn. And we were talking about something, and she said, oh, that you have a hard heart like that, it's hard to change somebody. And I wrote that line down.
That's a good
and
line.
Yeah, man. So I wrote a hard heart's a hard thing to change, and then I just sort of came back home here and wrote that all, and had just sort of, it's one of those ones where it just all came at the same time, and didn't have to think about it, and the good, those beautiful moments you have where you're doing something and everything just works right. And then when I sang that vocal, I sang that we recorded in the desert, but I sang it at Johnny Sandlin's in Alabama, and I think that's the last thing. His studio is now shut down, and after working with the Allman Brothers and all these people all those years, I think that's the last thing that was ever recorded in there.
Wow.
In fact, I know it was, because I was just up there redoing the studio and inventorying everything, and me and Jeremy Stevens, the guy that recorded this and engineered this record, worked with Johnny for a long time, and we cut those vocals together there, and we both worked for Johnny for years. So it's kind of like I was listening to it, and I was like, oh man, it's got the sound, the vocals got the sound of his studio,
That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Now, is it only available on CD and, of course, streaming, which is the big way that everybody does things now?
Streaming, download, Apple Music and iTunes and Amazon and all that, Spotify and all that stuff, and all that good stuff we don't make any money off of. And
I know.
And also vinyl soon.
There is going to be vinyl. Okay, cool.
There is, man. It's just there's such a lag right now with all the supply chain stuff going on. It's
crazy.
I was trying to get the vinyl out at the same time as the album, and it's just not possible. I'm gonna have to wait. It'll be 3 or 4 months from now. There's just such a backup for getting records, man.
I mean, I ordered some vinyl a year ago, and I'm still waiting for it.
That's crazy.
Like I bought it, right? It's a year. It's a year. Here it is, and you keep getting updates on it. It should be coming soon. Oh, we're just waiting on the. It's like,
and we're waiting. We're going to record it next week.
Yeah, and then there was another one that said it could, if you order it now, you could get it could be up to 12 months before. If you pay for it now, it could be up to 12 months before you receive it.
Man, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know, dude. Well, if you order mine, it's not. I promise you'll get it within a year. Definitely before a year. I don't care if I have to stick it on the back of one of those trucks and then go across the border up there. I mean, we'll get it to you. We'll get it to you.
Where will it be? Is that available on your web? Will it be on your website?
It'll be available. It'll be available on through my site and also through other distribution too.
Okay, cool. I'll
have them on my site, man. It'll be like a limited, like we'll do 500 of them or something like that, you know.
That's just and the reason I asked because that hearing the music makes me. I'm like, this has to be. I want this on vinyl.
Absolutely. I mean, I come from that era, man. Of when I started recording and working, hanging out in the studio and stuff. It was when tape was transitioning into digital, and nothing sounds as good. You know, when I started working with Johnny Sandlin, he would bring up a mix and he would be like, "Which one do you like?" You know. And I'd pick, you know, this one, and he'd pick that one, and then everybody else, not necessarily younger than me or anything, but like just would pick the other one, and we had both picked the one on tape.
On tape, yeah.
And they had picked the digital because they were just more used to listen to it, and to me, it just, you know, tape and vinyl, they have it's physical, it's magnetic, and, you know, it's a thing, man, you know, and. In this age of everything being digital, it's nice to have a record to hold in your hand, or
I agree.
You know. So
I mean, it's funny because mentioning that, going back to when CDs were popular, and I'd buy something that I may have had on tape or something, or maybe I had it on vinyl before, and then I got it on CD, and I'd listen to it, and I go, this doesn't feel the same to me. It doesn't have that same effect it did when I first listened to it. And then getting back into vinyl and buying it again, I'm like, okay, this is what I remember.
Yeah. I mean, well, like you're a guitar player, man. So, you know, it's like delays, you know. Okay. So there's a pit bull again.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's all kinds of awesome, you know, emulated digital delays that kind of sound like an Echoplex. You know, and there's, you know, all kinds of different stuff you can get, but it's not, you know, you don't feel it in the chest, you know, like, so I used a full tone tube tape echo for some of the, you know, vocals, and, you know, it's an actual tape machine made by Full Tone. It's like an AP2 Echoplex, only it doesn't have all the problems. And that thing, you know, I have a Belle Epoque from Cattle and Bread thing that almost sounds exactly like it, but it just doesn't hit you in the chest.
Right.
And even a carbon copy will hit you in the chest more than like some digital delay, because it's actually a thing. It's actually happening. You know, it's not numbers. It's not ones and zeros, man. It's actually, you know, a feel. So I don't know. Stuff like that's important. It's important to me anyway, just to have a more real vibe. I feel like I'm cheating, you know, and that's how it is with, I don't know, digital stuff when it's too perfect. Digital got so perfect, they had to make it sound bad. They had to make filters to make it sound bad again.
I know, that's crazy. And it's a buddy of mine, when, as I told you, I was up north on the weekend, and we were driving up, and we were talking about, you know, how everybody, you know, they do a vocal part and they edit it, and they're like, oh, we'll keep that vocal and we'll take it to the next part. And we were saying, we're like, okay, well, when we record, I don't want to do it this way. I want there to be, we're going to do it, you know, run it straight through, do the whole thing, do it the way that it's meant to be done. Absolutely.
The next thing that I do, I'm going to do up in Alabama at Jeremy Stevens' Clearwave studio. He's got all tape set up there now. And I'm going to go up there with my guys and cut it like they used to. And we both learned how to edit tape from Johnny. And
that's cool.
Johnny, you know, like there's an edit on Brothers and Sisters on Allman Brothers on Jessica, and then Dickie's solo comes in with that. There's an edit right there, and Johnny, you know, back in the day had to cut that with a razor blade, piece it back together, and it's seamless, man. He's like, man, you can only kind of hear. There's one cymbal that gets a little weird in the very back, you know, and he just compressed it or something, and so I mean, it's like a whole art to it, man. I don't know.
That's amazing.
Limitation is good. Yeah, when you're that kind of dude, when you can do that, you know, like he was just a genius. I mean, but he didn't have any idea that he was, which is the best kind of genius, I guess, you know.
I remember that like years ago when I was a teenager watching the Metallica thing when they were doing the 1.5 years in the life. And I think it was Randy Staub, who was the engineer, did the same thing. He was there, you know, cutting the tape, and you're like, they actually do that, because I was a teenager at that time, right? I was like,
oh yeah,
wow, that's an art.
It is. And actually, you know, and making records that sound like that on tape is a whole nother art. I mean, like that heavy and and heavy and good sounding. It's easy to make something heavy and bad sounding. So
it's so true.
Johnny had the opposite thing, where he made the Allman Brothers sound still heavy, but with headroom and clean.
Yeah. Back
in the 70s, when everything was crunchy, he was the first guy to have that, like, wow, you know, that sounds really, you know, hi-fi, but still, you know, has the root of you know, that soul thing going on it. So I don't know, man, there's all these different ways to do this stuff, and it's an ongoing journey, man, and it's just an awesome thing to do. I still love it like I did when I started playing. I mean, I got a guitar when I was 11 years old. I never did anything else. I went to sleep with the damn thing. I woke up with the damn thing. I stopped going to school, didn't care about baseball, you know. So it's nice to still love playing live and love recording, and, you know, and I think some people lose that, and I'm glad that I never did.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm the same. I enjoy playing, and I mean, it's your life. It's, if I'm not playing, I'm listening, and I'm talking about it, of course, like doing this, right?
I know guys that are they've made it super big, whatever, all that crap, and they don't care about nothing but playing their drums every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, playing their guitar every day. I call them, man, I'll call you back, I'm practicing, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you got to keep that thing, man, and, you know, that's where the good stuff comes from, you know.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Kenneth, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was a great conversation. And,
damn, thanks for having me, man. It's been great. And I hope everything opens up in between our two countries, and we can get that vinyl moving again, and come up there and play. And
that'd be awesome.
And that'd be great, man. I love that. I love it up there. It's just a beautiful country. I'd love to get back up there. And I think we're all heading in that direction now. So
yeah, it seems that way. So they're even talking about no masks here anymore. So
man, it's well, I mean, you know, I'm in the South, so we kind of beat everybody to that. And you know, for however anybody feels about it, whatever. I don't get into all that stuff, but however you feel comfortable and feel safe is how you should be. If you know, and but I think we're heading in to that direction, and we'll all be in, you know, at concerts, you know, again on both sides of the border up there, and having fun, and, you know, living life again. So
yeah, Blackberry Smoke is supposed to be coming up here. We bought those tickets 2 years ago. I
just talked to Charlie today, man. Charlie just texted. I sent him that record the other day. Just texted me, and I think that it's going to happen. I think we were actually trying to get on those dates up there.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Then they got canceled, and that's what everything's like 2 years behind now. So, but we're going to do some more dates with them this year too, and those are great guys that don't care about anything but playing music, awesome, and they're all wonderful people, man. So, and I owe a lot to them, cool, for sure.
Okay, man. Well, have a great night, and thanks again.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me, man.
No problem.
Anytime. And
hopefully we'll get to talk again.
Absolutely. If you need anything from me, man, just holler.
Okay, will do. Thanks, Kenneth. Have a great night, man. Peace out. Take care.
I can see it.